So as you know, yesterday we talked about the security breach and the group chat and the intel leaks. We're already having hearings in the Senate. I want to go over this, and let's just jump right in. So let's have a listen. This is Senator King. Let's watch.
According to open source reporting at 11:44 on the morning of March 15th, Secretary Hegseth put into this group text a detailed operation plan, including targets, the weapons we were going to be using, attack sequences, and timing. And yet you've testified that nothing in that chain was classified. Wouldn't that be classified? What if that had been made public that morning before the attack took place?
Senator, I can attest to the fact that there were no classified or intelligence equities that were included in that chat group at any time.
So,
and I
so
defer,
the attack sequencing and timing and weapons and targets you don't consider to should have been classified?
I defer to the Secretary of Defense and the National Security Council on that question.
So you're going to see a lot of this in this testimony, especially from Gabbard, and also watch their demeanor as they answer questions, or don't answer by saying, I don't know, I don't recall, I defer, etc., because their body language tells a lot of the story. I will say, though, I do believe that when you watch these people, they understand the gravity of the situation that they're in, and so that's why they're very careful with their words. That's Gabbard, what is she, Director of National Intelligence? I think that's what her position is, or czar, whatever they call her. You also got the CIA director there and also the FBI director. Let's watch some more here.
Well, you're the head of you're the head of the intelligence community, and you're supposed to know about classifications. So your testimony very clearly today is that nothing was in that set of texts that were classified. I'll follow up on Senator Wyden's question. If that's the case, please release that whole text stream so that the public can have a view of what actually transpired on this discussion. It's hard for me to believe that targets and timing and weapons would not have been classified. Well, let me.
So that's going to be the crux of this. Who's in the chat? Are they going to admit it or not? Some do, some don't, as you guys will see. And the other issue is, like, all these people are involved. And so if you don't get your story straight, then it exposes people as being either liars or giving false information. The argument they're going to try to make is, well, you know, we didn't do any classified information, we didn't do anything wrong, but you can't see it, right? Do you guys see what I'm saying here? Or they'll try to make the case of, well, we'd like to share with you what is classified, but then you're like, wait a minute, you just said there wasn't classified. So they keep kind of going back and forth, and this is sort of when they expose themselves. Watch some more, and you guys will see what I'm saying. And this essentially is when, you know, someone's not telling you the full truth, why their answers don't match.
Let me move on.
Is your testimony that it was appropriate that he was added to this signal thread?
No, of course not. And
what they're referring to here is the reporter, or I should say editor-in-chief at The Atlantic, was added to the thread, to the chat group. And there's some actually debate on who added said person. They're going to say, oh, well, we heard conflicting reports on that, because that might get a particular person in trouble. If you follow the story at all, it's basically there's a group chat regarding a bombing in Yemen, and you know, which assets were used, which targets, etc. And there's going to be some disputes on what the actual, you know, texts were, and also whether or not they're going to release said text so the public can decide for themselves. Again, these people are obviously going to try to say, hey, we didn't share anything or do anything wrong. That's going to be their argument, but this is why we have hearings, and we'll all make our decisions for ourselves.
Why
Senator,
did you not call?
Hold on, Senator.
You're
mischaracterizing my testimony.
Good. You answered the question. Let me ask you: when he was added to the thread, you're the CIA director. Why didn't you call out that he was present on the signal thread?
I don't know if you use Signal messaging app.
I do. Not for classified information, not for targeting,
well, neither
not
do I,
for
Senator.
anything remote.
Neither do I, Senator.
Well, that's what your testimony is today.
It absolutely is not, Senator. Were you not listening at the beginning?
No.
When I said that I was using it.
See, they're disputing of, like, what was actually in the thing, etc. And this is sort of where we're probably going to want to, get this released to the public. Chances are, this is actually, after the fact, so no one's life is in danger at the moment. Is the arguments that we would make. They'll probably make the argument that no, we can't release anything because then it shows too much of our, standing operating procedures, etc. Have some more watch, and we'll see what's going on.
Invite himself to the Signal thread.
I don't know how he was invited, but clearly he was added.
Right. So they're talking about how did the reporter get invited?
Clearly it was. Finish your sentence, please.
Clearly he was added to the Signal group. Your question is,
you don't know that the president's national security advisor invited him to join the Signal thread? Everybody in America knows that. Does the CIA director not know that?
I've seen conflicting reports about who added the reporter to the Signal message.
Yeah, and we'll see. And this is, and also to be fair to, when you give these kind of hearings, you may see reports, but you would make the case like I don't know directly if someone did, or I've heard a report that someone did, or something like that, right? So again, they're going to be really careful on their words. The person who added the editor-in-chief or the reporter Atlantic, I think probably will be in trouble, of course. And also, you can make the case that all the people involved in the chat are in trouble with this kind of thing because you're sharing classified information with someone who's not cleared. And then also the other case, which I want to make clear also well, which they're going to argue different things, is Signal an appropriate app to be talking about these kinds of topics, right? Targeting information, which military assets are we using, when are we going to be doing the strikes, this kind of stuff. Have a watch this some more though, because this actually gets really interesting. And also want to make clear, guys, if you've never watched these kind of things, not everyone in the government is a complete dolt. not everyone in the government is a complete idiot. Oftentimes the Republicans are kind of in that camp, but oftentimes the politicians who sort of clown themselves tend to be more on the representative side. It doesn't mean that senators aren't clowns, but I'm just saying not everyone's an idiot. As you can see from the line of questioning is very logical, very thorough, and very precise, which you'll see this because you basically want to get yes or no answers from these people. So how watch this some more.
Was there any mention, Ms. Gabbard, of a weapon or weapons system?
I don't recall specific weapons systems being named.
I'm not talking about specific, any weapon or weapons system.
I don't recall specific names of systems or weapons being used.
Right. So this is, I personally think, and watching through this stuff, I personally think she probably knows about, exactly what the answers are, but when in doubt, when you think you're in trouble, just say, I don't recall, I don't remember, that kind of stuff. That's a way to try to shield yourself. But let's watch some more, but she'll do a lot of this don't recall stuff. When you watch through more of this, just watch her demeanor as well. I think she feels like, oh my God, I'm in real trouble. That's just my opinion on that.
Named within the
Well, I'm not asking whether, I don't want you to tell me what the specific weapon was, but any weapon at all. Mr. Ratcliffe, same question.
I don't recall.
How about anything about timing? Ms. Gabbard.
I don't recall specific timing.
Was there any mention?
I won't get into the detail of the conversation, but obviously there was a significant amount of planning and internal discussions that had occurred prior to and outside of this Signal chat.
Mr. Ratcliffe, you're nodding your head. Any mention of any military unit whatsoever? Mr. Ratcliffe.
Not that I recall.
Ms. Gabbard.
Not that I recall.
Okay.
See, that they're, and this is something that when people say they don't recall, it's not exactly true. So, I mean, it's hard. And that's something that in court, it's like hard to prove what someone's memory is. But what I mean by that is that chances are to prepare for said meeting, they would have gone through and reviewed, exactly what's in the text. They're advised with their lawyers, this is what you can say and this is what you can't say. They clearly have a bunch of notes in front of them, et cetera. But I just want you to see their demeanor and of how seriously they're taking this stuff. I personally think both these people maybe called to step down or may resign. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, we'll let this play out, but I want you to watch some more of this stuff.
So I understand that DoD policy prohibits discussion of even what is called controlled unclassified information.
So now the topic's going to be, because there's multiple topics going on, is what is considered classified and what is not, right? Because again, they're going to try to make the case that, oh, well, we didn't talk about anything that was classified, we didn't do anything wrong, and so now we're going to define what is classified, and that's why they're talking about targeting information, assets, any particular units, timing, all of these kind of things.
Or CUI on unsecured devices. Are both of you aware of that DoD policy?
I haven't read that policy.
Not familiar with the DoD policy, but I would say that the Secretary of Defense is the original classification authority for DoD in deciding what would be classified information.
So this is where I feel like Tulsi looks really worried here, right? And I want to get your opinion, but these look like worried people to me. And then Ratcliffe, so that'd be the CIA guy. He's kind of throwing Hegseth under the bus. He's like, well, how do we determine what's classified, what's not classified? Go see Hegseth about that. I'm curious if Hegseth's going to show up to these meetings. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Hegseth, I mean, well, they can call him in, and I'll just say that Hegseth's an awful performer, this kind of stuff. I mean, these people aren't great either, but yeah, Tulsi looks worried to me. I mean, do you guys agree? I think objectively speaking, she doesn't look too thrilled, because it's like, oh crap, what are they talking about, the DoD stuff? So let's watch some more.
Ms. Gabbard, does the intelligence community have a policy that prohibits discussion of controlled unclassified information?
Yes.
It does. Okay. Controlled unclassified information, according to DoD, includes information that is information that has not been approved for public release. Would you, of what's been disclosed publicly?
And so this would be the key here, because again, why is there a reporter / editor in the group chat? And are we talking about information that, right, because there's different levels of classification, right? So that's why the public release thing becomes an issue. And so he's going to question more on that.
Of the signal chain, would either of you feel that that would be approved for public release? Ms. Gabbard.
The discussion that took place in that Signal chat group was a conversation reflecting national security leaders and the vice president.
So I mean, she gives a long answer, but she kind of evades. Before also as well with these people, again, there's gonna be a lot of people involved with this stuff. Who knew what when, right? Did you know the reporter was in the chat? You're gonna have a lot of these kind of things. Let's have some more line of questioning. And I just want you guys to see who these people are.
But
Mr. Patel, can you opine? You're a lawyer and you're the director of the FBI. Would he face any legal liability if he released the information?
Because of the questions you and the vice chairman have put to me, I'm not going to prejudge the situation, and that legal call is ultimately for the Department of Justice.
Thank you.
So they're passing the buck there. I think when the texts come out, because they're going to be calls for this stuff, one phrase you could put, we'll just say there'll be a lot of people that are fearful for their legal consequences and their personal consequences of what happens to them. We'll see. Let's keep watching here, because there's a lot. This is like the highest levels of people involved in the Trump team, Trump administration, and stuff. For all we know, and this will be an interesting one, because I haven't seen any reports on it yet. Is Musk in this thing? I don't think Musk would have been, to be honest, but you never know. We don't know a full list of who's in this thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Ossoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for joining us and for your service. Just to make sure I understand some of the basics here. So, Director Ratcliffe, you were a member of the Houthi PC small group signal chain, correct?
I was.
Yeah, and so were the Vice President, the Secretaries of State and Defense, the National Security Advisor, and Ms. Gabbard, correct?
I believe so. I don't have a list of who was invited to be on.
And so was National Political Reporter Jeffrey Goldberg, correct?
I don't know that.
Yes, you do.
I don't know Jeffrey Goldberg, and I've already testified. I don't know whether or how he was added.
Okay, well, he was a member of the signal chain.
And that'll be an interesting thing, whether or not because like, you know, you would see a number you don't know or something like that. Like, could you make the case, well, do I physically know that, you know, someone else was watching said chats, that kind of stuff. Initially, Gabbard was saying she wouldn't admit that she was on the chat, but it looks like Radcliffe was saying, you know, look, Gabbard was there. And this is where it gets back to who was on this thing or not. This is Asif here, another senator. Let's let some more watch this.
And the discussion included the Vice President's private opinion on the wisdom of proposed U.S. strikes in Yemen, correct?
I don't recall.
Vance, quote, I think we are making a mistake. I am not sure the President is aware of how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. There was a strong argument for delaying this a month. You don't recall?
I don't, as you
You don't recall seeing that?
read that, I don't.
It included the private opinion.
And this is like, when you watch this stuff, I mean, this is sort of like how you see a court case fold down, right? Do you remember this, et cetera? And then you literally just read what's in the text, right? It really, how can I say, makes them look bad, right? And I think you guys would agree with this. Like, hey, do you remember this? And like, well, this is what it said, right? That kind of stuff. And as I was saying before, these people would have reviewed everything before going into the hearing. So, you know, they're going to go with the don't recall stuff that you'll see it a lot, but just have some watch some more.
Of the Secretary of Defense on the timing of strikes in Yemen, correct?
I don't recall.
Director Radcliffe, surely you prepared for this hearing today. You were part of a group of principals, senior echelons of the U.S. government, in now a widely publicized breach of sensitive information. You don't recall whether the Vice President opined on the wisdom of the strikes? That's your testimony today under oath?
In that setting, I don't recall.
Here's what Secretary Hegseth said, quote, waiting a few weeks or months does not fundamentally change the calculus. Two immediate risks on waiting. One, this leaks and we look indecisive. Two, Israel takes an action first or Gaza ceasefire falls apart and we don't get to start this on our own terms. Your testimony is you don't recall the Secretary of Defense sending that message or reading it?
I recall there being an exchange. I don't recall the specifics as you're reading it.
Oh, well, now that you're specific and it looks like you got the dirt on me. Oh, well, wait, my memory's getting a lot better now. Can you guys see what's going on here? And that's why you have to watch this entirety. I know, I mean, you know, when you just read like a headlines and stuff like this, you'll kind of get a general sense of where it's going, but it's really different when you actually see it. Because a lot of times in reporting, they won't necessarily report don't recall. Like you won't understand. We won't see the full significance until you actually look at the stuff. So that's what we're looking at together here.
Well, let's put it this way, Director Radcliffe, a discussion by senior U.S. officials on the timing and risks of a proposed military campaign and disagreements between the President and the Vice President about U.S. plans and intentions would be of obvious interest to foreign intelligence services, would it not?
Yes.
And they were discussing the timing of sending U.S. air crews into enemy airspace where they faced an air defense threat, correct?
I'm going to, Senator, defer to the other principles that you're referring to about what the meaning and the context of what they were on.
They're talking about the timing of U.S. airstrikes, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and therefore the timing of sending U.S. air crews into hostile airspace, correct?
Yes. Yes.
See, so I think, and like I was saying before, when they release the text of said things, and if any of these people are lying, I think they're in big trouble. So that's why oftentimes they're going to say, I don't recall, you have to ask someone else, that kind of stuff. But it's a bit disingenuous because, again, they would have reviewed all this stuff before going into the hearing. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on these things. What do you think? Do you think they were talking about classified information? How do we, classify what is classified information? And do you think they're going to release the text eventually? I want to hear your thoughts on this thing, and I'll catch you all in the next video.